Here's an often requested video that I finally had time to review. It's Tomb Raider on the SEGA Saturn. Very few people actually know this, but the original Tomb Raider was developed first on the SEGA Saturn. The very first images shown of the game were of it running on the Saturn. It likely would have been a Saturn exclusive if it weren't for all the positive buzz Sony was getting with their newly introduced PlayStation. In total, Tomb Raider would see the light of day on DOS systems, the original PlayStation, and naturally, the SEGA Saturn. And while many debate over which version is the best, this one holds a very special place in my heart as it was the first time I was introduced to one Lara Croft. Now, I'm not going to go into how influential the game was for its time because that's been discussed about 1 billion times before. Instead, I'm going to look at how well the game holds up today, but be warned everyone, I'm reviewing this after just finishing Rise of the Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider's story opens with a nuclear explosion going off, revealing some sort of ancient artifact with what looks like a person inside in suspended animation. Meanwhile, Lara is at a hotel and is approached by some mysterious dude who's looking for some lost relic. And pretty much that's it. That's the beginning of one of gaming's most enduring franchises. For the most part, the story holds up fairly well today, with brief cutscenes smattered here and there to progress the storyline. It's nowhere near as cinematic or as deep as something you'd find today, but for its time, it worked well, and it does hold up well. It's the gameplay that really made people look twice. Well, that and Lara's, never mind. What was so unique was that Lara could swim, roll, jump, shoot, and perform all manner of acrobatic moves. She was nimble, graceful, and just awesome. I remember being so impressed with how she interacted with her lush environments. The focus was always on puzzles though, and trying to figure out how to get a little bit deeper into a crypt or cavern over fighting mechanics with countless enemies. Now don't get me wrong, there are enemies. It's just that they play second fiddle to the exploration, and that was the whole appeal of the original game. There was always Resident Evil for action fans. This one really made you stop and think. It was a much slower paced game. Today, I feel quite a bit different than I did many years ago, and you have to understand that the 32-bit era is a very challenging one to return to, and no, not just because of the low polygon counts. 3D games were completely new back then, so no one knew exactly how they should play. Should they include a map system, a camera system, etc.? And the answer to these questions hadn't yet been established, and it really shows in Tomb Raider. You have absolutely no control over the camera whatsoever, meaning as you make your way under a ledge, Lara is invisible, forcing you to make blind jumps. If a wolf, bat, or bear happen to pin you against a wall, well, you're pretty much screwed because jumping out of the way can prove much more challenging than you might think, and that's all thanks to the controls. Remember that analog sticks weren't yet popularized by the time this game was released, so you're controlling Lara with traditional controls and a D-pad. Her basic moves work a lot like Prince of Persia in that you have to inch your way ever closer to a ledge in order to make a precise jump, or sidestep to pick up a health pack. These precise movements are all performed with the following control scheme. L is used to slow Lara's brisk run to a walk, meaning by default she runs, and run she does. Right over ledges, into bottomless pits, etc. It takes some time to get used to the fact that you have to slow down in order to make certain jumps or ease yourself off high cliffs or ledges. You can sidestep with X and Z. Y is used to look around the environment, R is used to roll forward, A is to jump, B is your action button, which we'll get into in just a sec, and C is to holster or draw your weapons. Now let's go back to that B button. When your weapons are drawn, you use B to fire. It's simple stuff and it works perfectly fine. But with jumping, it takes some serious getting used to. Let's say you're up against a wall that's slightly taller than Lara. You can simply press the B button and Lara will automatically jump up and pull herself over the ledge. It works perfectly. But what if you have to jump from one platform to another? In that case, you need a running start, then you have to press A to jump, and then immediately press B for her to actually open her hands to grab onto the ledge. Failure to do so will result in Lara just slamming against a rock and falling to her death. Jumping as a whole takes a very long time to get used to. If you press A, she just jumps straight up. If you want to do a forward jump or a backwards jump, you have to tap A and then immediately press and hold the direction on the D-pad that you want to go. You won't have too many problems after about an hour or so with the game, but let me tell you, after coming off of Rise of the Tomb Raider, this feels so much clunkier by comparison. You may also want to bring a strategy guide with you while you play because it's incredibly easy to get turned around and lost. There is a compass that always points north, so that can help orientate yourself, but thanks to the lack of save points, I found it really easy to get turned around, lost, die, and then have to repeat the whole thing all over again. Interestingly, the PC version allowed you to save anywhere, but the PlayStation 1 and Saturn versions both require the use of crystals to save, and they are so few and far between. Stages can take anywhere from 30 minutes to over an hour to complete, and you may only have 2 save points throughout the entire stage. Tomb Raider was originally touted as being a showpiece for the next-gen consoles, or the then next-gen consoles. I remember being so impressed with the graphics, but naturally those do not hold up well today at all. We've just come so far since the 32-bit era. While I once saw each area as distinct, today I find they all look like a jaggy mess. There are clipping issues everywhere, your next destination is often hidden out of sight because of the lack of camera controls, and environments ended up just blending into one another. The game also suffers from terrible frame rate drops whenever you're in an open area with too many polygons on screen at once, and let me tell you, there are quite a few of these in the game. Saturn fans should also know that, yes, it's true, the PlayStation version does indeed look much smoother than this one and features a lot of transparencies and whatnot. The soundtrack was the same across all 3 versions of the game, and I'll be honest, it's a moody soundtrack where the vast majority of sound elements are simply ambient noises. There are a few tracks in the game, but those only play out when the action cranks up, which isn't all too often. Overall, Tomb Raider on the SEGA Saturn is an excellent history piece, but it is extremely hard to recommend today. It helped usher in mature games, it pioneered 3D video games as a whole, but it's also a relic in and of itself. While it's a shame the Saturn didn't see any of the sequels, it's nice to know that the series started on the Saturn. There was a lot more Sega should have done with marketing this game when it was relevant, but alas, Sony beat them to the punch, and shortly after Tomb Raider was released on the PlayStation, it became synonymous with PlayStation. For those that know exactly what they're getting into, sure, it can be interesting to return to where it all started. Just realize the series has fundamentally changed since this classic game first hit the scene way back in 1996.
What's a man gotta do to get that kind of attention from you?
It's hard to say exactly, but you seem to be doing fine.
Well, great. Though truth is, it ain't me that wants you.
Oh?
No, Miss Jacqueline Natla does, from Natla Technologies. You know, creator of all things bright and beautiful.
Seal it, Larson.
Ma'am.
Feast your eyes on this, Laura. How does that make your wallet rumble?
I'm sorry. I only play for sport.
Then you'll like a big park. Peru, vast mountain ranges to cover, sheer walls of ice, rocky crags, savage winds, and there's this little trinket. An age-old artifact of mystical power is buried in the unfound tomb of Qualapec. That's my interest. You could leave tomorrow. Are you busy tomorrow?